Hi there, this is Dylis Guyan, and today I'm actually showcasing the business of Angus Grady, and he's one of our great members of our Facebook group called Inspired Selling. And if any of you who are watching or listening to this aren't members of the group, please feel free to pop over to Facebook, look for Inspired Selling and come and join us. We would be delighted to have you as part of our community. Now, back to this marvellous Angus Grady.
Oh my God, already I'm frightened. Go on. Makeup.
A LinkedIn expert. And what Angus doesn't know about LinkedIn and using LinkedIn to attract new clients is worth knowing. So I'm absolutely delighted to have him showcase his business here today. So welcome, Angus.
Hello, and thank you so much for asking me. I feel such a privilege to be asked that I'm actually kneeling.
Oh, thank you, Angus. I haven't had anyone kneeling to me before.
I won't be able to get up, but that's it.
No, I wouldn't either if I was kneeling. So just give us your background, Angus. Tell us your story. How did you get to become a LinkedIn expert, and a great one, I have to say?
Well, I have to say it was a journey that I didn't expect to make, actually, if I'm being 100% honest, because my background is advertising agencies, and in ad agencies I ran what was called knowledge departments. So in that area, if we were pitching for Coca-Cola, people would come and ask me about the product, the market, and the people. So basically, I provided the nuts and the bolts for people to then make their decisions on the creative department, for their ads. So I got all the old ads in, all that kind of stuff. It was business intelligence. And as I like to say, it's making intelligent business decisions with business intelligence, which I quite like the phrase.
I like the ring of that. I like the sound of that.
Yeah, and it's pretty simple. You cannot make a decision without being well informed, and the ones that aren't well informed, as in life, as in business, if you're going to get the number 14 bus and you think it runs at 3 o'clock and you're there at 4, you've missed it. It's tough. So basically I did that. I moved out of there. I set my own company up. I did a bit of desk research from people. I got into a bit of recruitment. I ran a mystery shopping company for a while, which was great fun. I had Hillier Garden Centres as one of my clients. Great. Robert Dylis I worked with. I worked with some quite nice people. That kind of was coming to the end of its kind of paper and pen side, more to the electronic side. And I'd always been interested in like social media. And I started doing social media because to me it seemed natural fit with what I'd done. Unfortunately, it got to the point where, like estate agents, social media people have that label now, and everyone's an expert, Dylis, aren't they?
Well,
I started to then specialize more into like LinkedIn, and essentially I kind of found out more about LinkedIn because I felt that was the area to be in. Of all the social media platforms, that was the one that was more business orientated at the time. Still is, I think. I think it's a business critical tool.
Yeah, it's essential, I think, for B2B selling.
I think that I like to call it social solving rather than social selling, because if you solve the problem that somebody has before they've engaged with you through your profile, then the selling is not a sell, it's a natural progression.
Yes, indeed. You always have a great turn of phrase, Angus.
Well, I've got huge things written behind this computer on the wall and people pointing sticks and saying, say this next. If only.
Yeah. So tell us who your ideal client is.
Well, contrary to standard kind of thinking, I have lots of different ideal clients. So business startups are a great ideal client because they're trying to get to grips with people, they're trying to get to grips with things, all of their marketing, their finance, everything else, and they blunder into LinkedIn and social media. So they're an ideal client. I like to work with accountants because I have something called Know and Grow, which is a know and grow your numbers. So I would offer a service to accountants where I'd go in and do a free LinkedIn seminar for their clients based on the fact that if the clients start getting busier, the accountant gets busier.
Yes.
So that's actually quite nice. And medium-sized companies. So most people have one defined area. I've got quite a lot of coaches, business coaches. I've done a lot of work with business coaches because most business coaches are to organisation what King Herod was to babysitting. They're hopeless. So they are good at telling somebody else what to do, but it's like cobblers, sort of shoes. You never see a well-dressed tailor.
Yeah, I've been working with some business coaches recently, and you're absolutely right. And they know how to coach and they know the right things to say, but they're not brilliant at bringing in clients.
They're not.
And this, my dad wasn't a business coach, and I don't know whether you've heard me tell this story, but my dad, he was an expert in what he did. He was a really clever guy. He was an electrical engineer and brilliant at that, but not brilliant at bringing in new clients. And unfortunately, he went bankrupt and he lost everything. He lost his business, the employees lost their jobs, he lost his vehicles, he lost the house. We ended up having to go to a council house, and
Blimey.
The saddest thing, actually it still catches me every time I speak about this, was that he was a bit of a drinker anyway, and when this happened, his behaviour was just untenable. Well, going to this council house, my mother and the 4 kids, and he ended up my grandfather's garden shed for a week, and then 3 years in a caravan. I mean, how tragic.
And I think that it is tragic, but I think that that's what drives you, Dylis, because you remember that.
It is. And I was working with some clients yesterday, with some salespeople actually, and they're saying, how are you still so enthusiastic about this? And I said, and I told them the story, and I said, so for me, it's like if I can prevent any business owners going through what we went through, I'll have done a good job.
And as you know, I mean, and because I empathise strongly because I am a recovering alcoholic. I am 13 years sober.
Well done, congratulations.
And going to the point where I nearly lost everything for everybody else, it kind of wakes you up in the morning and think, you know what, I can't just sit back and just idly do nothing.
Yeah.
But
anyway, so LinkedIn is a brilliant tool, particularly for the B2B market, and I know that you have the same passion as me in terms of helping people to be able to grow their business by bringing in more clients. So what mistakes do you see generally, Angus, in
How long is this for? Only half an hour.
Well, just give me your top 3.
Yeah. Well, basically, it's a business critical tool, and most people use it as a business by accident tool. So basically, they blunder through it. They don't realise that it's actually LinkedIn is 2 words, and it's a gateway to reputation building and also building a client base. And I think people forget that it's got multifacets to actually what it does, and they see it as either one thing or another, and they should see it holistically as LinkedIn with all of their marketing. And the mistake they make is that they talk about themselves all the time. They don't. Their profile is written about them. I did this, I did that. Most people have ME. Me. And it's not about their prospect. It's not written to attract the right people. And the headline, which is the start of any engagement, is normally their job title. I don't care. You're not looking for a job. If you're a small business owner, putting managing director down is completely and utterly pointless.
Yeah.
So you've got to think about what you're saying and how it's presented. And that's one of the key mistakes. Then they don't follow they don't have a plan. They kind of get on it. They'll think, I've got 7 minutes before the 4 o'clock bus, which I'm going to go for at 5 o'clock. Push, here we go. And they just blunder through it. And they don't think to look at who their ideal customer is. They don't look to write their profile in terms of who their ideal customer is, do they? So people come to it. And the trick is to actually disqualify as many people as possible when they're reading your profile. You don't want a plumber, if like your target market are plumbers, or rather are plumbers, and a plumber's reading it, the plumber needs to go away and say, you know what, that's not for me. What you want to do is somebody who's on the edge of that, to say, oh, I've read your profile. I didn't have that problem when I first started reading it. I have it now. I'm gonna get in contact.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. People don't have any way of contacting any, so they go through a summary, you get to the bottom of the summary, and there's no call to action.
Yeah.
They don't use the banner properly. And if you're not connected, if I weren't connected to you and I wanted to have a chat with you or call you, then I could only do that unless it's written in the summary. If it's not in the summary, stick it in the banner. It's free advertising. Put your message in there and your phone number.
Yes.
The amount of times I get called by people that says, I'm not sure you can help me, but at least you've got a phone number.
Yeah. And the profile is fantastic, because as you're saying, people should read that and go, gosh, you must be reading my mind. That's exactly me.
Exactly.
To you.
Exactly. That's the idea. So you are solving somebody's problem, but you're asking the questions to make them think, do I do this? So are you struggling to find new clients? Well, yeah, I am. Yeah. Do you struggle with LinkedIn? Oh, yeah, well, actually I am. I was the same, which was true. So empathy, building, all of that kind of thing. And then if you want to contact me, call this number.
Yeah, exactly. And so in terms of top tips, what would be the let's just take 5, if you've got 5 there to be able to share. And I know you've kind of given some of the mistakes and some of the things.
Yeah.
But let's say, and I absolutely agree, it should be part of your strategy. It shouldn't just be a standalone thing. So what are your top tips for including this in a strategy and making it work?
Okay, well, in terms of the LinkedIn profile, make sure your photograph is eyes and teeth, full on, because meet like no trust. None of this looking like Marlene Dietrich with smoke coming down on you, none of that. Strong headline, strong summary with a call to action in. That's kind of one area. That's kind of one. I'm mixing that up in one. Make sure that you've got a personal URL, which everybody should have within LinkedIn, easy to find, easy to miss. On your websites, make sure that you've described your website with the keywords, not just company website. You can change all that. So again, keywords. Think keywords all the time, essentially. Make sure that your summary has those keywords and calls to action in the summary. Your experience section, make sure that your description of your company is, again, the value proposition that you've taken from your headline and your summary.
Excellent.
And again, in that summary, make sure that you put links in there, because one thing people don't think about here is links aren't live on like a desktop, but on your mobile phone and only on an Android phone, those links are live.
Right.
So you click on them and it takes you somewhere to your website. Google owns Android, so Google owns search. So therefore, make sure that you keep that there.
Excellent.
Also, make sure that you have your ideal client base in mind and do a search around that and save the search, because then you come back to the search. You can't save a search on LinkedIn. You can actually have an update on there, so you can save it, so every time somebody comes along that fits that criteria, it then goes back. You then get notification, but save the search offline. So when you come back in, you can reinvent it, and you've got the 200 people that you've got there.
Right. So when you say save it, Angus, do we need to buy the upgraded version?
No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. I use Chrome as my browser. So what I would do is I'd drag and drop the URL into a folder on the toolbar. Because as we all know, that Chrome toolbar follows you everywhere. So it is like your personal library. So whether you're on your laptop, whether you're on your iPad, that Chrome, everything you put into those folders will always be there. And people forget that at their peril.
Right. Because I use a Mac.
Okay, well, there's going to be something similar on there. You could drag that search, the URL, into a folder and go back to it later.
Okay, excellent. That's really, really good
But
tip.
the links in the summary are important as well.
Yeah. So let's say that then you've got your list of people who are your ideal clients.
Yeah.
What are your, from your perspective, what should people be doing to follow through? Because this is what I see is missing so often. People will build the number of connections,
Yeah.
and it stops there, rather than taking it, having a strategy and following it through. So what's your advice on that?
Okay. Well, pretty clear on this. Most people collect connections like they collect sweets.
Mhm.
If like your market are blue sweets, don't stop collecting yellow and red ones. Forget them. They're not you. They're not going to help you. And there's no point having somebody in Elon Duragua if you're a local business and you want to work with people face to face, because it's not going to work. But also, the thing that I say to all of my clients is that connections shouldn't add up; they should count. So basically, it's not vanity; it's fewer and deeper. Make sure that you message them to start with when you connect. Don't just connect blind. Always send a message. There's a lot of people now that are trying to be terribly, left of field, saying it doesn't matter because your profile would have qualified them anyway, so you don't need to say anything. I think that's rubbish. Always send a connection message, and if in doubt, always go back to somebody and ask why they wanted to connect.
Mm.
Okay, when you've got the connections, then start building that relationship. I always say make sure that you've got a hot list for every month. So a simple spreadsheet that so each tab is a month, and then you just have those people in there. Make sure that you have a system for then following on. I don't like the word follow up, because follow up is like a ball going in the air. It goes up, it comes down, end of. I've done my follow up. No, it's not. Follow on is linear. One thing should lead to another. So make sure that you have researched those people as well, and which is why I love LinkedIn, because it goes back to what my core love, which is research. Most people search and get it wrong. So you've got to research and do it right. So it's a question of building up like what I call like a pitch pack on each particular client. And and I know, Dylis, that most small businesses, if they had half a dozen, maybe a dozen good clients, they wouldn't have to mess about with all these complicated funnels and email and Facebook ads to drive people in, because we forget at our peril as well. Sorry, once I start, I'm off. I'll be here till midnight.
I love it.
Because the good thing about LinkedIn is you get to hand pick who you work with. So you want to have managing directors who run accountancy firms. Well, do a search of managing directors in accountancy firms. Call me old fashioned, call me Kevin. And if anyone's Kevin who's listening, I apologize. But basically, what you've got is a hand picked list, which you can then go through and say, actually, I don't want to work with them because they're in Elon Duragua. They're too far away. But your search should be, postcode specific, which you can do still as a hack, which I'm happy to share later on, or a few days time. But basically, you've looked at all the managing directors of accountancy firms within 30 miles of you. You should have a list of 200, 300, 400. Half a dozen of those is all you need to make your business successful. But we're caught in this social media melee where people say you've got to be doing 25 blog posts a day. Sorry, I haven't got a website. Okay, haven't had a website for 2 years. I've not written a blog in 4 years. Has it affected my business? Nay. Content marketing is good in some respects. People get driven to a website, and when they get there, it's like arriving at a party with no vol-au-vents. You get there, and they think, why am I here? What am I doing here? I'm on this website.
Yeah.
And most sites have one letter missing, which is an H. I apologize for saying that, because that's what they are.
Yeah.
They're hopeless. So save your search, get a list together, a hot list, a really targeted list of who you want to work with, and then build the relationship. Share an article, comment on their stuff, suggest stuff, tweet their posts.
Here's a great example. Just yesterday, I was on the train coming back from London, and I was just doing some searching for people on LinkedIn. I was looking for IFAs, and I found this guy who actually lives in Oxford, and I sent him a connection, and we had a number of common connections. So I just said, hi, I've forgotten his name now even. I noticed that we have a number of common connections. We also both live in Oxford, and we've both got financial services experience. I'd love to connect with you. That was that. I got this morning when I opened my computer, there's a message from him saying, Dylis, I looked at your profile. Could you help us with generating leads? So
Job done.
Yeah, exactly.
Because again, your profile answered the problem he has, and for a lot of people, that's the whole point.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that it's that easy all of the time. Of course, it isn't. But had you not got back with that message to me, I would have been saying thanks for connecting, and I would have sent him a valuable resource that would have been beneficial for him and his team of IFAs. And then we would have, built that relationship and then taken it offline. And I know you're a master at doing that, because you've got this really lovely strategy with postcards, haven't you?
I have, and I'm just going to reach over and get a couple.
Because I love this.
I've got a series of 10, and basically this is. Oh, hang on. So keep it up there. Basically, I actually handwrite these.
Yeah.
And then they arrive, and then this one is a particular call to action. It says that this card has started more telephone conversations than a dozen meetings. 9 times out of 10, the person will call me, because that's what I'm asking them subliminally to do. So I've already connected with them here on LinkedIn. I then send them the card, thanking them for the connection. Hi, Dylis, thanks for the connection. I really appreciate it. Look forward to catching up with you very, very soon. Kind regards, Angus. 2 things: people don't get postcards anymore.
That's right.
Secondly, they don't.
Yesterday, actually, with the sales team I was working with, I was telling them about your postcard strategy.
Yeah, and if it's a talking postcard where I've recorded a message and written the link on there, it's even better, because all I'll say is, Dylis, this card isn't big enough to write everything I want. Please put this link into Google. And it comes to a recording of me saying, 2 things have happened, Dylis. The postman's arrived, you've read it, and you've clicked on the link. Here I am. Anyway, what I was saying was, Dylis, is this. Da-di-da-di-da. I'd really much, thanks for connecting. Have you considered? And I always give a tip. So I say, why don't you do this, this, and this? Anyway, I'm not here to sell you anything. Give me a call if you think that I can help. And again, 80% of people will call me and say, wow, I've never had a postcard. I've never had one that talks to me, that's personalized, and let's crack on and do, can you help me? Simple things.
Love it. So, Angus, if anybody wants to get in touch with you, somebody who could really do with your help to help them grow their business, how can they get in touch with you?
Well, connect here on LinkedIn. So Angus Grady, the LinkedIn unlocker. Connect with me, and I will gladly have a chat, or through the group. And then again, if somebody wants to message me through the group, superb. Happy to take. And again, happy to be on the phone with somebody for 10-15 minutes if it helps, because a lot of people.
You really do give a lot to people.
I think I give too much. I mean.
Give too much. That's why people love you, Angus.
I know, but I kind of do myself out of work sometimes. I mean, at the end of last year, I was actually talking to a guy, and it was coming to the point where we were going to sit down and do a day's training. But he said, "You know what? You've given me so much already." He said, "It's going to take me another month or 2 to assimilate all this, so I'll get back to you." And I thought, "Oh," but again, I forget that I'm trying to run a business.
Yeah. So, have you got an email address? Or
Angus@angusgrady.com. Angus@angusgrady.com. I'm on Twitter @AngusGrady. Everything is Angus Grady. I used to have customized media. I've got rid of that because people buy me. They don't buy customized media.
Yeah, brilliant. So thank you so much.
A pleasure, a pleasure, a pleasure.
Pleasure for me to showcase you and your
Well, I can't believe that I was asked first. Blimey, what a privilege. And I'm still kneeling.
Oh, you make me laugh every time I talk to you. So again, anyone who is listening or watching this and you're not a member of our Inspired Selling free Facebook group, please come and join us. It's for business owners who sell to bigger businesses, who want to share with others, ask questions, collaborate, and just really be part of this fantastic community to help everyone to attract, convert, and retain more of their ideal clients. And a mentor of mine many years ago said to me, "A rising tide lifts all boats," and I love that. Is really what I want to do for the people in the group. So thank you, Angus. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. See you soon. Be afraid, you will. Bye for now. Bye-bye.